There's one thing that has me feeling like a little bit optimistic, and that is there was a rock bottom that happened on Sunday before the All-Star game.
Okay.
That was a rock bottom. Because, like, the more I think about it, you had 3 awful games in a span of 2 weeks before the break. Like, that was it. That was, you can't really go lower. Going lower, I guess, would be missing the playoffs. But in terms of, like, actual gut punches, even days later, that Chad Green, Domingo Herman combination to blow that lead and to, basically just take 2 or 3 from Houston and not sweep the series, it can't be worse. Like, that's it. That's the low moment. It was after the high moment of Cole and pitching the complete game on the Saturday night. That's my one thing that I can't get out of my head. I'm like, I think they hit their rock bottom, and I think there's nowhere to go but up. Obviously, it starts with the next
about that?
13 games. Well, you're not as convinced. See, I'm not as emotionally attached to the team. I am because I love watching the Yankees, and we talk about them every day. You're a fan in a way that I'm not. I just feel like there is something to back of the baseball card. I hate how the Yankees put it as this group has had success. They've had regular season success. They don't have like World Series success.
Don't tell them that
they can fall back on. But there is a little back of the baseball cardness that I think has to kick in here for the Yankees. But obviously, it starts tonight. No hyperbole. This is it. Like, this is the season, the next 13 games. This is it. And it feels almost heavier than that. Like, we'll talk about Boston and how they match up and the immediacy. But there does feel like there's a heaviness to the next 13 days where if they completely fall out, big, major, huge changes are coming to the Yankees. And I think a lot of fans actually are maybe hoping for that.
I will say
changes.
I don't know if Yankee fans are rooting against the Yankees and hoping for them to lose. But
they want change, though.
Well, they want the team to win. I mean, if the team was winning, if they were playing up to what the expectations were coming into the year in the regular season, the concerns more were about what they were going to be come October in the postseason, not necessarily that this team was going to fail in the regular season. I guess I just don't know. Okay, so they hit rock bottom on Sunday.
I think they did.
Okay, no, I that's fair. But what would then lead you to believe that they're all of a sudden going to rally?
Because I don't know if there's anywhere to go but up. That kind of theory where
it's a nice theory, but
you get a bounce
look at
back.
What we have seen here.
A rebound.
Right. Well, I mean, what we have seen from this Yankee team this season is they haven't shown that. Now that could change. I mean, it's conceivable. We've talked about the last couple of days, next 11 of the next 13 against the Rays and the Red Sox, 2 against the Phillies. And, it's an important stretch to figure out what Brian Cashman is going to do, for Brian Cashman to figure out what he is going to do come the MLB trade deadline, July 31st. And, there's not much to pair off when you look at it. No. But, whether or not they add to this group and add to this team, yeah, I think that, that's really kind of the only way that helps you sleep at night, to say, well, it can't get any worse. Well, okay, that's fine. Well, it can't get any worse. Like, Sunday was an embarrassing loss to the Houston Astros, so it can't get any worse than that. So it could conceivably get better from there. Or they could just be the team that's been spinning their wheels the entire season, and what has defined them, what we have watched here, and there's not going to be this ultimate rock bottom. They might finish over 500. Their win total right now in Vegas is set at 87 games. Significantly different than where they were before the start of the year, which was probably 8 or 9 games above that. So the expectations have clearly gone down. They're now plus 700 to win the American League East. So everyone's fading the Yankees
about
left and right.
40% chance.
When you look at this team to potentially win the division, but it's a matter of trying to get to the playoffs and get to the wild card. I get it. Listen, I think that helps you kind of have breakfast this morning, getting ready for the Red Sox tonight.
There you go.
A team that they're 0-6, and say, well, it can't get any worse.
I got 2 more for you.
Well, there you go. Well, I guess so. But I've also watched this team play really decidedly average baseball for the better part of nearly 90 games.
So I think there's like a failure can be freeing kind of aspect to the rock bottom, where this team is obviously feels the weight of the expectations. How could they not? And I think there can be something that just sort of loosens the team up about, hey, it can't get any worse, right? Like the freedom of failure. I believe in that, where all of a sudden you can kind of let things go. Maybe when you are not meeting expectations. You're willing to look at more answers, more solutions. You don't close yourself off as much to any kind of possible different avenues. So there's part of that I believe in as well, and hopefully the Yankees will embody a little of that. There's another part of it, though, that has me a little bit optimistic, and that is I have to believe that just even having this little break has helped some of the pitchers either not just rest, which of course is always helpful, but also just, again, continue to get acclimated to not being able to use anything on the baseball. Like, I have to believe that guys who were having a real struggle, I'm not saying like necessarily the spider tack, but anyone who was having trouble not getting a grip.
Flying down to Tampa to work on their grips?
I don't even know. You don't have to go to Tampa. You can, the backyard, baby. Like, you can just have a day to breathe, or a couple, and just say, like, all right, how can I mess around with a couple grips here? How can I make sure that I'm getting a better, the pitchers made such a big deal, and rightfully so, about how changing midseason was so disruptive. Well, now everyone can take a collective breath. Maybe you have a day or two where you can start to mess with things a little bit without the pressure of having to go out and pitch a game that night. And maybe, guys, you'll start to see a little bit better of an adjustment. The Yankees, until from the beginning of the season until that memo came out, they had the third best staff ERA in Major League Baseball. Since the memo came out to now, they have had the 9th worst ERA in Major League Baseball. Yeah. And a lot of that's Aroldis Chapman. But I would like to believe when the Yankees had their basically only successful stretch of this season, it was because the pitching was excellent. And so maybe if they can find themselves a little bit with the pitching staff, Zach Britton coming back tonight allegedly. According to Jeff Passan, he said he heard at the All-Star break that Corey Kluber is ahead of schedule. He could be coming back earlier than they thought. Maybe you get Domingo Germán figuring some more things out. Maybe, you have Cole, who's obviously, we hope, figured some things out after that complete game, and he's pitching better.
Yeah, but
that gives me some optimism also. But Chapman's a whole other story.
But
you
look at this team. You think they're going to outpitch teams to get themselves back into it? Or you think
that's how they had success this season?
I understand, but
when they did have it.
Do you think that I understand they had it earlier on, but their ERA has taken a massive hit since the crackdown on sticky substances on the baseball. What is ultimately the greatest strength of this team was not the starting rotation. The greatest strength of this team coming into the year was the starting lineup, was driving in runs. I'd look at it to say, I'm not going to hold my breath to all of a sudden guys figuring it out on the fly, something that they've done the majority of their careers now over the span of 3 days, being able to figure something out, or over the span of a month, being able to figure something out. Like, there's concerns. I think the Yankees, if they get back into it, I think it's going to be about their offense. I think it's going to be about scoring runs. I think it's going to be about, Stanton, Judge, Gleyber, Torres showing a little life in the second half. Gary Sanchez continuing his ascent. DJ LeMahieu continuing the momentum that he closed off the first half with. That's to me as a fan, that's where I hold my hope on. I know they had the success in the regular season earlier on with their staff, Maggie, but Cole had a tour de force performance Saturday night against the Houston Astros. I don't look at this as a dominant starting rotation. So
but they've been better.
I think the lineup has really got to lead the way.
Well, of course, that's what I said. Back of the baseball card has to start coming through, and if they can adjust better to get Loaizaga back, hopefully off of the COVID protocols.
But it's more the offense than the pitching.
And that's why number one was back of the baseball card.
No, I get it, but it's really kind of, when you look at it, if they're going to get them, back of the baseball card, that's fine. I mean, they're never going to play up to those stats this year. Too many guys have dug themselves too big of a hole. Can they be able to put together a stretch here of quality baseball? There's a lot to overcome. It's not just the pitching. It's not just the hitting. It's running into outs on the base pass. It is the grounding into the double plays. It's playing bad, fundamentally unsound baseball that we've seen from this team time and time again. See, I mean, you could look at it and draw comparisons and say, well, why is one team failing? There's kind of one particular reason, maybe two reasons. For the Yankees, it's kind of been team-wide. We've questioned the leadership. We've questioned whether or not this team likes one another, chemistry. We've questioned the managing of Aaron Boone. We've questioned certainly the offense. We've looked at the pitching staff taking a downturn. They've got massive concerns about Aroldis Chapman after his disastrous month of June, pitching to an 18 ERA in his last 8-9 appearances. He's been bad. They've been fundamentally unsound, as I've mentioned. There's been a lot of things that have led the Yankees to kind of get here. So it's hard to envision looking at it saying they're going to get everything right. The thing that was supposed to cover over a lot of the warts on this team was the offense. And the offense has not been able to do that. So a lot of those warts, unfortunately, have gotten exposed.
Do you have any optimism left in you? 877-337-6666.
Well, it's a big series. I mean, this is it.
This is the 13 games. This is it.
Well, and it starts tonight. I mean, it starts tonight. They've lost 6 against Boston this year. They've been swept on 2 occasions. You know, Alex Cora is getting all the credit in the world up there in Beantown, Maggie, for the job that he has done this year. And tonight's the night. I mean, it's got to begin somewhere. So I don't need any, like I mentioned yesterday, I don't want to hear any pep talks from Aaron Boone before the game. I don't need anything like that. Everyone in that clubhouse, tonight's the night. It begins now. Because if it doesn't begin over the next 13 games, it's never going to get going. And then it's going to be massive changes for this team after the season.
Well, that's why it feels heavy. Do you think anyone would have the guts or the stones to make one of those edited like hype videos before this, you know, where you have like those scenes from like the movie 300, you know how like football teams will do this kind of really corny
Pete
stuff.
Alonso loves 300.
Athletes love this stuff. Where you like slice in like Al Pacino's, you know, monologue from Any Given Sunday in with like all these other these like movie scenes.
Yeah.
Does anyone have the guts? Like, could you even do that right now? You're talking about there's nothing left to say. And I agree with you. There's nothing left to say. Like, who's the person who tries to come in with the save the season hype video?
Yeah, I don't know. It would be.
You think someone in the digital department's been working on that?
Probably. Probably not, honestly. Unless the analytics department told them to do it.
Maybe it's just the analytics
because
department
we know
hype
this. The
video.
Yankees make no decisions unless the analytics department tells them to do it.
Why don't they make a hype video for the analytics department and it's just like scenes from Office Space and stuff, just like sliced in about TPS reports and stuff like that?
Yeah, it would, yeah.
Scenes from the movie The Net.
Unfortunately, they're above hype videos. This is not getting ready for one big game. Like they're beyond that. But yeah, I don't know, Maggie. I don't know what to expect. In all seriousness, like I don't know what you're going to get from this team. I'd like to tell you that, that I have confidence in this group. I really don't. I'd like to tell you that I think that this team's going to go on a run in the second half. Doesn't really look like that kind of a group. They played as poorly as they have up until this point, and I'd love to be wrong. I mean, but it's got to get going tonight. I mean, at the end. It begins tonight against the Boston Red Sox. If you're looking at an important stretch, and we've talked about important stretches for the Yankees before in the first half, well, we're now past the All-Star break. That's in the rearview mirror. The second half gets going tonight against Boston at Fenway at Yankee Stadium. They've lost 6 against the Red Sox. This weekend is got to be a line in the sand. We take 3 or 4. We sweep away Boston, do that, then gain that kind of momentum. Then all of a sudden you sweep the Red Sox. Then you're 9-2 in your last 11 games. Then you can start thinking about this team doing something. But it's got to be long, sustained success instead of these blips that we've gotten and them taking like 3 or 4 steps backwards.
Do you have any optimism left? 877-337-6666. Also, I know this is, big for the Yankees, yada, yada. Really big day for me, personally. That Jaybird has come through with my caricature today.
Yes.
And it is awesome. I absolutely love it. I'm going to put it up on social right now. Jaybird's got it on social. Just go to his handle.
Yeah,
you don't need mine.
It's great.
I absolutely love it. Thank you so, so much. I officially feel part of the team now that I have a caricature.
There you go. Very nice. It's a good picture. You did a nice job.
This is just awesome. I am thrilled. So, big day. Really. Big day around here at the Moose and Maggie Show.
It is. For individually Maggie, she got her drawing.
Yes, I did.
And her Thursday is now made.
I couldn't be happier. And who better to diagnose what is wrong with the Yankees than their former manager, Joe Torre. He's going to join us at 11 o'clock. We're going to get into, he's got his big safe-at-home golf and tennis outing. Yes, but what's going on with this team? How do you fix this team? What would be his approach to Aroldis Chapman? What would be his approach to Gleyber Torres? We're going to get into all of that with Joe Torre.
What's wrong with baseball, too? We'll get into that as he's a special
How much time is he going to be spending with us?
We'll have some time. Joe, and he's got his charity event coming up, next week, I believe it is, for the safe. Yeah, a week from today. So Joe will join us top of the 11 o'clock hour. But tonight's night for the Yankee fan, it's Boston, it's the Yankees. It's an unbelievable rivalry. Boston has owned the Yankees this season. 0-6 are the Bombers against the Red Sox, and it's got to begin tonight. If it doesn't get going tonight, well, how much time can you possibly waste if you're the Yankees? 877-337-6666.